What is going on, guys? It's the Mad Dragon. So round 4 of the Rugby Championship is now over, and we have the winner between the Wallabies and the Boks, and the winner goes to the Boks with 4 tries and a pretty dominant performance for the majority of the game. This one was a very broken game in terms of just how much momentum we actually got going. So many penalties. I was quite astonished by just how many were given. The game, I don't know if it had longer than 3 or 4 minutes at any given time before there was a penalty. It was absolutely constant. So of course, guys, as we do in these match report videos, we'll be starting off going through the first half, and then afterwards we'll talk about the second half, go over some of the scores, some of the highlights, and some of the thoughts on the match. And as always, I recommend you guys drop down in the comments your thoughts on the game, because it's always fun to have a read through of your guys' opinions on how the game went. So starting off in the first half, it was pretty all South Africa for a massive chunk of this game. I would say the first 15, maybe even 20 minutes, I would even begin to push towards just being South Africa. The first 8 minutes especially was just all-out warfare from them. Actually led to the first try coming in the 8th minute from Damien Dialende after just a massive wave of attack from South Africa. Eventually they managed to find that gap. They managed to pass the ball out wide. It was Etzebeth, took it right up to that try line, got held up on the line. Difficult task to hold a man like him up on the try line, but he managed to just pop that ball off over the side, got it out to Dialende just to put it down and over. Of course, we did get the conversion then from Valemsa as well, right in front of the post, nice and easy. So 7-0 in 8 minutes. That's where you want to be going. Now, alongside of this, we also had a yellow card coming in. This came in for Matt Phillips for not releasing just before the try was scored. There was a tap and go, not being that 10 metres. We've seen them in the championship before, people not getting back and just making the tackle. In fact, there was one last week, exactly the same for Tom Wright. Exact same penalty, yellow card very early on the game. So they had to have that yellow card down a man already. Now, Australia did actually survive this yellow card without conceding any points, which was pretty good. They actually managed to manage the game pretty well. They were just trying to slow down the ball. There was quite a few boos from the crowd, as is the way it's going to go. But they did manage the game pretty well in terms of not being able to concede any more points. I mean, that's always an opportunity to start just losing more and more points or giving away more and more penalties. Slowing the ball down, slowing the game down, just try and waste as much time as you can. About the 25-minute marker, possession, though, was beginning to become a bit of a thing. Possession 65% to South Africa, and it really felt like that at 25 minutes in. And every time Australia would get the ball, even with the yellow card, very weird decisions, constantly kicking the ball away, and not like a challenging kick, not like a box kick that someone could actually chase after and get underneath. So many kicks that were just kicking downfield into the hands of people like Willie LaRue or Mapimpi, who would just counter run it back up the field, and they'd almost have no net gain. We did see a couple of kicks going completely awry, people like Lolosio kicking the ball dead. I'm not really sure what the game plan was behind it. A couple of these kicks were working in terms of chasing their own box kick, but so many times they weren't even giving themselves a chance to build an attack before just falling back on this kicking technique. About the 30-minute marker, there was a little bit of a momentum shift. It began to go the way of the Wallabies. Australia began to get on the front foot a little bit, and that actually led them to get their first points of the half. Lolosio's boot getting them a nice little 3 points. Being on the offensive, getting a bit of an attack together. There was a few penalties beginning and subsequent penalties coming from South Africa. Really, when they got put under pressure, South Africa were very happy to start giving away some of those penalties. And the Australian attack line running really well, making big ground through some of those tackles. South Africa tried to make a bit of a comeback in the 35th minute. They had one of their biggest mistakes that was a bit wary of where that could have gone for the end of the first half. South Africa having their own penalty just on the edge of the halfway line. Went to kick it to corner, didn't make the kick to touch. Reece Hodge booted it all the way back up the field, made about a 70-metre gain. Now, this was really weird. The ball did go into touch, and then I think it was Valemsa sort of passed the ball straight back in, and the ref actually stopped them and called them back and said, no, you can't do that. The ball was out. And then we went back and we discovered, yes, it was out, but it was their line out. I don't really know what happened there. Ben O'Keefe, I'm going to say I wasn't that impressed by the refereeing today. I thought the refereeing was way too harsh, but also not very consistent. I feel it was just so many penalties, and I feel like things like that really slowed down this game and stopped it a lot. So I would have liked to have seen things like that. Just let them play on and call it back if you really need to. You don't need to be constantly blowing the whistle and stopping the game. Now, I did think that was going to be the end of the half, but no, as we see Moody getting over for his try just before the end of halftime. Really fantastic try from the youngster coming in here. Chasing a box kick that came from Hendrickse from the back of a ruck. Chasing it down, had to go for an aerial battle against Corey-Betty, which he won pretty well, to be fair. Corey-Betty, a bit of a standing start, had obviously injured his calf a little bit earlier as well, so he's a little bit wobbly on it, and did manage to get under the ball, picked up the ball, and ran a good 30 metres all the way into the corner. So there's a lot of talk around this lad. I don't know a lot about him personally, but nice to see him getting on there, getting a try for himself. However, it was a pretty terrible conversion from Valemsa, to say the least. So we go in at half-time. South Africa 12, the Wallabies are on 3. And it's a scoreline that seems pretty fair, to be honest. I really didn't feel like Australia were going to be scoring a great deal of points in that first half. South Africa arguably could have scored more. A couple of things not quite going their way that stopped them, though. In terms of overall notes, then, very stop-start game. Strong first 15 for South Africa. 20 to 35, it slowly began to edge towards Australia, but then 35 to 40 was again back to being South Africa. Both teams want to have some consistent possession in the second half. It was one of the things, both teams going for these big kicks, but not really leading to anything. I feel like South Africa had the better grasp of not kicking the ball and actually trying to just use the ball in hand to make ground. I think it was working much better than the Australian technique. And then finally, the Australian accuracy and mistakes that we just didn't see last week. We saw it against Argentina a couple of weeks ago, and they seemed to fix it all last week, but they've all come creeping back in this week. A lot of things going a little bit wrong for them. We did see penalty counts really big. First half penalty counts, 5 penalties to 7. 13 penalties in the first half. Ben O'Keefe wanted to just blow his whistle absolutely constantly in this game. One of the fun stats, though, just to show off the physicality that we obviously saw in this first half. Number of turnovers. South Africa got 7 turnovers. Australia got 5. I don't know if I've ever seen 13 turnovers in one half. Absolutely mental. Both teams absolutely going for it, though, in terms of the physicality. Absolutely love that sort of stuff. On to the second half, then, and it wasn't long until we got our first try of this second half, coming from Mostert. The kicking tennis game happened for about 2 minutes. Didn't really look like it was going anywhere. South Africa seemed to be winning almost every single time when they got into these kicking tennis games. They eventually went on the attack. There was some lovely play by the box, multiple phases, and eventually they managed to, just by going left to right, eventually they found that man overlap, got it outside, and we see Mostert go over. Could have given it to the winger, could have let him add another try, didn't fancy it. Another quite bad conversion, though, from Valemsa. I know a lot of people have been talking about he's not necessarily like a starting fly half, so maybe that's to sort of be expected. But South Africa going 17-3 up just 2 minutes into the second half. But the 40 to 50th minute then was pretty much all Springboks again on the offensive. They actually had the opportunity for a try that was going to come, and I really thought it was coming. Spreading the ball wide, go for this giant miss pass out to Mapimpi on the wing, but Nick White managing to get his hands on the ball, just gets that interception, stops it, and they managed to exit pretty well. Now at this point, Australia are beginning to come down with the injuries. We've seen Lolasio go off with an injury. We've seen Paisami go off with an injury. We had Taniela Tupou go out before the game even started. So they were beginning to feel the issues here. This was one of the issues that I don't think you can really prep for in coaching. You're not expecting so many people to go out injured so early on into a game. We saw Corey Betty with his calf as well. Looked like he was struggling a little bit. So they had to try and make the most of what they could do. I think they held up pretty well, given how many injuries were beginning to come in. But you definitely felt like that they are just beginning to hang on. People like Nick White actually did quite well in just getting in the way a lot of the time, just to try and slow down the game a little bit and try and keep Australia in it. Moving towards the 60-minute marker was some very big calls here. Now, there was an attack from Australia. They had a good couple of phase attack going towards the 55, 60-minute marker, where in a period of 3 minutes, we had 7 penalties against South Africa in their own 22. Now, this was quite surprising. I can't believe we didn't really see a yellow card here. I don't even know who you'd have given the yellow card to. They felt like there were so many options. I saw a lot of people complaining last week about the amount of attack that was going, or the amount of penalties that was going against Australia in their own 22 and not getting yellow card sooner. And I was really surprised to see that. And then on top of that, the ref actually overruled basically all of these 7 penalties because of Ananala Toa going in for a high shot in a ruck and getting his arm around someone's head. And it's quite surprising to see how this works out. I'm not entirely sure about these sorts of rules and stuff. I feel like if you have like 7 penalty advantages, and then 1 against you, and the ruling was that foul play overrides all. I mean, everything is foul play. All penalties are foul play. They've all been done on purpose. They all know what they're doing. I'm not sure if I agree with that. I would have maybe liked to have seen it be, you've committed a foul, therefore we go back for it. Maybe you have a warning with him. I don't really agree with that. It then came back the other way again. There was one, this was on Tom Wright. Sia Khaleesi tackling him on the ground, got his sort of shoulder to the back of his head. I thought that one was actually worse than the one that Ananala Toa did. But apparently that one wasn't even a penalty. The penalty came for something completely different. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure there was a great consistency from the referee in this game. And I feel like both teams could maybe feel the referee was against them. I'm interested to know in the comments down what people thought of the refereeing throughout this game, because very, very hard to judge what was happening or why it was happening. Such inconsistencies throughout the game. At the 70th minute, though, we do get to see some redemption for Mapimpi getting his own try. Now, of course, last week there was a lot of talking points around Betty stopping that try coming in for Mapimpi, whereas this week we got to see Mapimpi actually score a really nice try. LaRue had a really nice run round the outside of a player, got that extra man overlap, passed the ball out to Mapimpi. We see him carve through, manages to ride 2 tackles, including one of Betty, gets himself over for the try, scores himself those 5 points, and we just see this massive fight break out. Why did it break out? Well, because Mapimpi obviously wanted to just let Betty know he'd scored that try, gave him a little shove in the face, and then everyone else needs to get involved. It's rugby, that's how it works. Now, this did actually result in Mapimpi getting yellow carded, which... Again, I sort of agree with in a circumstance. I feel like when you get these games where people are heated, there's a lot of fight stuff. Rather than having the game keep breaking up because people are pushing and shoving each other, I actually think you should be given more penalties. I'm surprised we didn't see penalties given a lot earlier. There was a couple against Nick White where the referee was basically shouting at him to come back. Just give penalties against people. Just say you pushed in, penalty against you. Even if it was your penalty, overturned. You'd immediately cut it out. I don't think the referee had a great grasp on stopping these fights. I feel like it's a bit... I understand it's a penalty against Mapimpi for that. I'm not sure whether a yellow card was warranted, especially seeing as they did their own thing and then they sort of got on with the game and everyone else had the fight. I'll leave that up to people's discretion down in the comments, what they think of that yellow card. By this time, Stain has come on, so he takes over the kicking duties. Probably good. Valemsa wasn't having the best kicking day from T, so did manage to convert that one. So we were left with the final 5 minutes. Australia just wanted to try and reclaim something back. Australia basically went back on this full-on attack. The box defence was actually looking really good, even later on in this game when players were looking a bit tired. The Australian team just so eager to kick. Again, back on the offensive. They were like 14 points down. They can't make any ground, and they're still just kicking this ball away. Eventually, it led to just ending in a handling error. It just sort of led to nothing. I did think the game was probably going to be over there. However, Australia had one final note to get in, like we saw with South Africa last week, scoring right at the end. Australia decided to do it this week. Try coming in from Pete Samu in what is arguably the best attack of the game for Australia. I would maybe say so, in all honesty. At this point, because of the amount of injuries, they had 2 people running scrum half. They had Gordon and Nick White running at the same time. So recycling speed from the back of the ruck was actually really quick. And it actually really helped them. You saw them interchanging play of who was playing scrum half. And I really like that. That's on-the-fly play. And I really like that because it really upped the speed. Plus, they had the man overlap because of the Mapimpi yellow card. So the ball went out wide and Pete Samuel runs it over for a try. Now, just before he actually scored it, there was also a purposeful knockdown by LaRue. So we see LaRue also getting a yellow card just for the final minute of the game. Doesn't really stop a try. I thought maybe they would have just awarded the penalty try. Reece Hodge did miss the kick. Unfortunately, so it ended up being Australia 8, South Africa 24, which is where we find ourselves on this final scoreboard. This game could have ended 24-3, in all honesty. I think they got a little bit lucky to get away with that final score at the end. I think it would have been a bit of a statement. We obviously saw what happened in the New Zealand-Argentina game. If that video ever uploads to the YouTube channel, it's taking forever to process. So 2 big scoring, like one-sided games this week. Really fun. I'm loving covering this championship. So much to talk about. In terms of some final stats that were quite interesting. Possession. Interesting. 47% to Australia, 53% to South Africa. So they really managed to close that gap up in the second half. Penalties conceded, 13 apiece, is from the stats I could find. The Sky coverage in the UK is awful for pre- and post-match coverage of this game, so I had to get these stats from a different site. But 26 penalties in a game. That's so many penalties. You know, I really feel like they want to try and work out a way to cut down on penalties or just start awarding penalties more consistently rather than doing. There were so many penalties in the game, really sort of stopped the game flow for me. And then finally, number of turnovers. Australia 9, South Africa 12. So we did slow down the number of turnovers, but 21 turnovers in a game. That's a lot. That's a lot of turnovers in one game. But I think overall, in terms of this game, I really feel like South Africa deserved to win this one. They had control for the majority of the game, I would say. They were the more attacking team. They looked the most in control with it. The set piece was actually looking better from them. They didn't really get awarded that much in terms of the scrummaging. I really thought the scrummaging was looking way better for the South African team. The line outs as well going more the way of South Africa. Australia lost more lineouts than South Africa did. I think overall they really improved on their performance last week. They'll have been really disappointed with how last week went, so they really improved. And Australia sort of fell off a bit. I think Australia are beginning to suffer with how many injuries are beginning to build up for them. So guys, what did you guys think of the match? Make sure you do drop it down in the comments. If you've enjoyed this one today, remember to leave it a like. I will see you all next time, guys. Bye bye.